Hey guys, welcome to my channel 2 Days English. I've decided to film this video on my English journey. I teach English, and I realize that a lot of people actually have never heard my English learning story. So I thought I'd film this video and tell you a little bit about my story, how I came to speak English, and how I came to learn the English language. If you are just stumbling across this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing. In this channel, we talk about American English and also American pronunciation and reducing your accent. So, I hope you subscribe and I hope you like this video. Let's get to it. Okay guys. So this video is actually not scripted at all. I didn't do anything in preparation for this video. It's actually very random. I've been wanting to film a video in English so that you guys could practice your listening. So, I hope you enjoy this. But I wanted to tell you today a little bit about my personal journey with English and how I came to learn and speak English. So, actually, my story begins in 2008. That was the year my sister and I graduated high school and moved to the United States. We moved to Houston in Texas, and this was our first ever travel abroad. We'd never been to any other country in the world. We'd never met any foreigners before that. So, this was all new to us. The reason we moved to the United States was to get our education in America. So, my sister, it had been a lifelong dream of hers to move to the United States. So, my mom definitely supported her, and she sent me with her. I really didn't want to go, but my mom was confident that that was the right decision for our family, so she sent me. I was only 16 years old at the time, but now looking back, I'm so grateful that she did that because coming to this country has definitely changed my life. So we moved to the United States in 2008. We didn't really have any prior experience with English, so we obviously took English courses, and we always thought we had good English. But having good English back home doesn't mean you actually speak English. It just means that you pass all the tests with flying colors. It doesn't mean that you can actually have a conversation with somebody. So we thought our English was pretty good until we actually landed in the United States. And then we had to speak with somebody in English. That's when I realized that I actually couldn't even talk. I was afraid to open my mouth. I was afraid to be misunderstood. And actually, at the airport when we landed, I couldn't figure out where to go. We couldn't figure out where to get our bags, where to get our luggage, and we were trying to ask somebody for help, but we were too afraid to not be understood. We were too afraid somebody was going to say, "Oh, can you repeat that? I didn't understand what you were saying." And we were just really nervous. So it was just a very scary experience to come here for the first time, and to really understand that you actually don't really know English until you speak English. Anyway, fast forward a few months, we started taking English courses in the United States, which was actually really good for us. And it wasn't good for us because we were in the United States. It was good for us because the courses were in the English language. So, you can actually recreate that in your own country. You don't actually need to be living in an English-speaking environment to learn English. Yes, it is helpful when you do live in an English-speaking environment, but it's not necessary. You can create an English environment in your own country, in your own home, by watching movies, by listening to English music, by watching TV shows in English, by watching videos like this. So actually, if you are watching this video, then you do have access to a computer or a smartphone. You have access to the internet, so you can watch things on YouTube. You can watch American news channels and things like that, just to start hearing English speech more often. We were forced to hear English speech 4 days a week when we were taking our courses, so that actually really helped us to get comfortable with the English language. So then we actually started speaking English more. but we were still really nervous. So at the time we were living with a roommate and he actually spoke pretty good English, but I didn't. So I asked him to help me, and what he did, this was so cool. What he did actually, he was like, "Hey, grab your dictionary." Back in 2008, we still had dictionary books. We didn't have smartphones at the time. So he said, "Hey, go grab your dictionary. Let's go outside in the street and just talk to people." So we were living in a little apartment complex in Houston, and we just went outside with our dictionary. We saw people walking by, walking their dogs and things like that, and we would just stop them and be like, "Hey, can you please speak English to us so we can practice our English?" You do not say says, you say says. And that was something new to me. I used to always say says, and no one ever corrected me, and I never noticed that I was saying it the wrong way. I never caught myself making that mistake. And that's another moment where I want to just pause and tell you guys, please try to analyze your own speech. Speak English and then analyze it, okay? Like, make sure you are actually observing your speech, and make sure when, say, you watch a movie, or you hear a native speaker and you hear how they pronounce a certain word, and then you say it and then compare. Don't just say things and don't just talk without analyzing your speech. That's very important. So anyway, I wasn't doing that, and I had been in the United States for like 8 years at the time, and I was still making these little bitty mistakes. So she started correcting me, and actually just recently I said to her something like bow, like take a bow. That's what I meant. But I said, take a bow. And she was like, honey, bow is not how you say it. You say bow, take a bow. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. I've heard Americans say take a bow, but I was still pronouncing it as bow. And so this is something that's very important. If you don't have somebody who can correct your pronunciation, then you should be that person for yourself. Make sure you are correcting your speech as you hear it. Correct your speech and analyze it, because you won't be able to correct it if you don't stop to actually analyze how good or how bad your English is. So what I've talked about thus far is my journey with English. So obviously I was forced to learn English. Another thing that I know played in my favor is the fact that I was really young. And so language learning comes a lot easier when you're younger. So if you are a young person, then make sure you are learning languages, because it's actually going to be very easy for you. However, if you're not a young person, it doesn't mean that you will not be able to learn English. You will. You just need to take the time and the effort to do it. Anybody can learn anything at any stage of their life. I truly believe that learning stops when you die. I know that sounds really sad, but you should keep learning new things until you pass on. And so even if you are older, I feel like English learning should still be a goal for you. I feel like every person in the world should try or strive to learn another language. And that language should be English. Because English is the language of the world. Everybody in the world speaks English. Any country you go to, even if you don't speak their native language, you will be able to communicate with somebody in English. So it's very important to learn the language. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you a story of my life and how I came to learn this language. It was really scary. It was terrifying at first, and I definitely had a lot of moments where I felt like I was failing. I had a lot of moments where I felt like I wasn't really good at it, and never will be good at it, until I became good at it. So, the only thing that I can tell you that led me here was the fact that I actually never stopped learning. Like, I never said, okay, I'm done learning. I'm done speaking English. Well, I couldn't say that because I still live in America, so I have to speak English. But I never stopped learning. I always keep an open mind. I always try to take people's feedback on my English, and I try to improve upon it. I'm still taking feedback. I'm still improving my English. But I can tell you one thing that helped me so very much. It is actually speaking English. Even if you speak to yourself, just start talking and start doing it out loud, not in your head. That's the first thing. The second thing that helped me very much is watching movies and TV shows in English with English subtitles, not with Russian subtitles, not with translation, in English with English subtitles. Another thing that helped me is reading books in English. That was very helpful. And then, lastly, analyzing my speech and letting other people correct me. This is something that may be very difficult for some of you. I know it's hard to take criticism and to take other people's feedback, but I think it's one of the most important things if you want to succeed in English. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for this video. I try to make sure that I slow down when I talk. Sometimes I forget to do that, but please let me know how you enjoyed this video in English.